name is Lucy and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. So this is a tag where I just talk about my favourite reads and my least favourite reads and all of that, just looking at my reads throughout the year so far and looking to the rest of the year. So I will link the original creator down below and let's get into the questions. So the first question is the best book you've read so far this year, and for me this is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I will link my reading vlog down below where I read this, but I've only had two absolute new favourites this year and this is one that just stands out. I absolutely adored it. So in this book we follow Evelyn Hugo and she essentially climbs the ladder to fame. So we follow her from before she is famous until she is an elderly woman, and we see everything that happens. She becomes a Hollywood actress and we see all of her relationships and everything she does in her life, and it's an emotional read. So there is representation for LGB and there are talks about how LGB people have been treated in history, and it is so emotional and I cried a couple of times. One time I really proper cried a lot and it was just a really emotional read, but it was amazing. And we switch between the past and the present and we find out all about her life and everything that happened and all of her husbands and just the story, and it was beautiful. So it really lived up to the hype for me. So that is something unusual because a lot of hype books I don't seem to enjoy. So I would highly recommend picking it up if you haven't already because it is brilliant. So the next question is the best sequel you've read so far this year. And for me this is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So this is the second book in the Blood and Ash series and I enjoyed the first one, but the second one was my favourite and I was really highly anticipating the third book and unfortunately I didn't really like it and I was disappointed, but the second book was great. So in this series we follow this character Penelope who has been brought up to be the maiden, and there are these people who essentially the children of the townspeople are given to them and they work for the gods, but we don't really know quite what this entails and it's quite secretive. And at the beginning of the first book there is an encounter with a god and things begin to change. So Penelope is seen as pure and innocent and she is not allowed to show her face to people or kiss anybody or anything. So this is really a journey of Penelope earning her freedom and making her own choices. And this is a fantasy romance. There are some smutty scenes, so just be aware of that if that's something that you don't want to read. And yes, I really enjoyed the second book. That was my favourite in the series. I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series because I was really disappointed with the third one, but I would recommend picking it up if you would like to, and the audiobooks are really good as well. The next question is new release you haven't read yet but want to. And for this I have a couple of answers. So I have Jade Fire Gold by June C.L. Tan, and I don't quite know what this is about, but there's something that happens and there's a lost heir and two characters that are on a path to reclaim the throne, and I think there's like something about destiny, revenge, magic and romance. So those are like buzzwords for me and I'm really interested to pick this one up. The other book is actually a cooking book and that's Pinch of Nom Comfort Food. I've been making recipes from the Pinch of Nom books this year, and if you see my vlogs then you will see a lot of recipes that I've used from those books and they are amazing. So they are essentially kind of healthier alternatives and loads of different meals, and they are great. They're so yummy. There's so many different things from there that I really love, and it's been really great to mix up what I've been eating as well and have different recipes to try. So I'm really looking forward to the new book, which I think is coming out in December. Number 5 is Biggest Disappointment, and I'm going to go with two books for this actually. So Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I was so anticipating that book. I read the first two really quickly and really loved them, but the third book was a bit not quite for me, so I didn't really enjoy it and I just wasn't happy with how the plot went. So I was really disappointed with that. And the other book is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard, which I also read in a vlog, so I will link that down below if it's up yet. And I was just really disappointed with this. I didn't feel attached to the characters. There wasn't much world building. So I just really was disappointed because I know a lot of people love it. And that book follows two witches who are friends, and there's a villain and they get separated. And I liked the concept of the Blood Witch, which was really cool, but just the rest, I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel attached, I didn't care, so yes. So the next one is favourite new author, debut or new to you. So for this one, I think I'm going to go with Kristin Cashore, because I read Gracelyn and really enjoyed it. I read the second book in the series, Fire, and I didn't enjoy that one. But I'm really interested to check out more works by this author, because I did quite like Gracelyn, which was a YA fantasy about people in this world that have graces. So some of them are really good at something, and in the first book we have a character who is really good at killing, but she doesn't want to kill people, and they have like two different colour eyes, and it was really good. It was like there was like a journey, there was a romance, there was like a mission, and it was a really great book. It's not an absolute new favourite for me, but I did give it 5 stars and I did really enjoy reading it. The second book I didn't really enjoy, but I do want to pick up more by this author because I did like the things that were happening in the plot, and those are things that I do enjoy. So I am hoping to pick up more books by this author. Please let me know if you have any recommendations. I don't know if they've got any books outside of this series, but I think I might pick up Bitter Blue next. So we will see. The next one is newest fictional crush. So I don't really get fictional crushes anymore, so I don't really have an answer for this. But I would like to mention some characters that I do admire parts of their personality. So The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I admire Addie's determination to keep going and keep living despite all of the difficulties. This is another absolute favourite that I've read this year. So that book follows a character who in the 1800s, I think, she's due to get married. She doesn't want to get married, and she prays to the old gods and nothing works, and she is told do not pray to them after dark. But something happens and she ends up summoning this dark god, and they make a deal, but she doesn't realise that there is a catch. So she will be free, but no one will ever remember her. And we follow her for 300 years of life and all her different relationships and her trying to make a mark on the world. And it is emotional. There are a couple of like romances in it, and like one of them isn't the best, but I did really enjoy the book and it was an emotional read, and there are trigger warnings in this book, so please check that out if you want to check this out. But I really did enjoy that book. But also to mention, in that book it is quite Eurocentric. She lives for 300 years and there's no mention of other countries. It's mainly, I think, France, England, America and Germany, and maybe Italy as well actually. So really there wasn't enough countries mentioned in the book. So just to point that out. And then I also found Evelyn Hugo quite interesting as a character. I didn't like her as a character. She isn't very likeable, but I found her a really interesting character to read from. And this year I am also reading the Lord of the Rings books, or at least the first one, and I still really love Samwise Gamgee. He's still like my favourite, one of my favourite characters. I love the films and I'm reading the books, and he's just such a pure character, and he's really helpful to Frodo, and he's just lovely. So he's one of my favourite characters that I am reading this year. Number 10 is a book that made you cry. So Evelyn Hugo. I may have also cried at Addie LaRue because they were both emotional books. But Evelyn Hugo, I remember really crying. So yeah. And I missed the question, newest favourite character, but I did speak about that, so that's fine. Number 11 is a book that made you happy, and for this one I think I'm going to go with Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Promise Part 1, because I watched Avatar for the first time last year and absolutely adored it, and I really enjoyed being back in this world with these characters, and it just follows on from the show. So that was really great to read, and I need to read the rest of the books in that first trilogy. So the comics are set into trilogies set after the show. There's also comics that follow the show, but I'm interested in what happens after the show, so I do need to read more of those. So number 12 is the most beautiful book you've received this year so far. So I have a few options for this. So I would say The Alchemist, The Vanishing Half and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue all have beautiful covers. I was also sent A Tangle of Spells and Murder on the Orient Express this year as well, and they also have really nice covers. Apologies for the change in camera angle. I literally have one more question left and my battery died. So let's just finish this up. So the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I would like to finish the last book in the Final Empire series, which is The Hero of Ages. So I really enjoyed the first book. I didn't really like the second book, but I do want to finish the books. I would also like to finish at least the first book in the Lord of the Rings series, which is Fellowship of the Ring. And I would like to read The Alchemist and The Vanishing Half as well, and A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I also want to pick up Finnegan of the Rock finally, and finish my Avatar comics. So my Avatar The Promise comics. I have 2 more to read, and I've got some mangas as well up here. So I've got Blue Exorcist Volume 3 and Devils and Realists Volume 2, as well as the Little Kingdom Hearts book, Kingdom Hearts Unchained X, I think it is. So basically a lot of the books on this shelf. So these are all of the books that I need to read physically. So I would like to read a lot of these this year. And yes, I have quite a few answers for that, but wish me luck. By the time this video goes out, hopefully I would have read at least one of those books. So we will see. But please let me know what you would like to read by the end of the year. And if you've read any of the books I mentioned and what you thought of them, because I would love to know. Please feel free to check out my other videos if you'd like to, and like, comment and subscribe if you would like to. All of my links are down in the description box. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in another video soon. Bye!